do it all.
All right, good evening. My name is Brent Forsey. I have the pleasure of being the principal here at Arcadia High School. And I would like to invite anyone who needs translation in Mandarin. We have Susan back here right behind you. If you need translation, feel free to walk back and she will help us out with that. So even if you don't need it now, if at some point during the presentation you feel like you need translation, please do not hesitate to get up and walk back to Susan and she will help you out, okay? All right. I cannot tell you how proud I am of the people that you are going to hear from tonight. We have 5 of our Common Core coaches at the high school who are also classroom teachers on a daily basis. So I hope you can imagine with me how difficult that can be to balance those two worlds at the same time on a daily basis. But what they've been able to do, the work they've put into this, the work they've put into the year is absolutely stunning and amazing. And again, I could not be prouder of you tonight and the work you're going to do. I want to give you a small piece of information, or a couple pieces of information. This is the beginning. I don't want you to think that tonight you're going to get everything you'll ever need to know about Common Core. We know a lot. We will know more in a year than we know now, and we'll know more in 2 years than we know next year. And so this is to give you a taste of some of the things that your students will begin to see, okay? And I'd also like to let you know that the presentation tonight is an example of Common Core because our student right back here who's filming helped produce some of the video, and that actually is one of our Common Core skills that we'll be honing in on. But with no further ado, I'd like to introduce our Common Core coaches. Their names are on the screen: Kevin Fox, Leslie Klipstein, Jorge Munoz, Ray Minster, and Ashley Novak is going to lead us off.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Ashley Novak. I coach speech and debate here at the high school, and I'm also a freshman English teacher. We're going to talk a little bit about what the Common Core is tonight. Common Core state standards establish clear and consistent guidelines for what every student should know and be able to do in math and in English language arts, from kindergarten through the 12th grade. It's been adopted by 46 states in the nation, and California is one of those states. That means your children are all going to be learning the same standards. That doesn't mean that teachers are all teaching it in the same way. The end goal is for all students at each grade level to be the same. Students will be getting the same kinds of learning experiences across the nation. The Common Core is a major overhaul in the way that we teach. The shifts are in student learning. They're to promote independent thought and analysis, and it focuses on developing the critical thinking skills, problem solving, and analytical skills that students will need to be successful in college and in beyond. The content students are exposed to will be more rigorous and require higher levels of thinking. How will this look? Well, an example of a difference might be illustrated in the types of questions that are asked in the classroom. It's no longer enough to just know the correct answer in math. It's important to know the process and how the student came to that answer, what other ways could be used to get to that answer, and why it's correct. For English language arts, a major shift and improvement is focusing on the questions that are higher level thoughts, which require evidence from the text. For example, what in the book tells you that? Or what evidence from the text do you have to support your claims? And the English teachers here at Arcadia High School feel very reassured because we've been doing that for years. Why the change? Well, we as educators need to stay relevant. The value of an education coming from high school, Arcadia High School, and beyond will continue to be judged on its ability to ensure that graduates can secure good jobs and foster a better quality of life. In essence, what we want is to make sure we aren't producing students like this.
Hello. Welcome to Energy Conservation Incorporated.
Thank you. I really hope to get a job here.
Well, let's get started with your interview. What do you think are your greatest strengths?
My greatest strengths.
Yes, your greatest strengths.
What are my answer choices?
What do you mean?
My answer choices. You know, A, B, C, or D.
There are not any answer choices.
Oh, I understand. In that case, I choose C.
You choose C?
Yes, I choose C.
Okay, the reality is studies have shown that the business sector faces these kinds of hiring frustrations, maybe not this egregious, when trying to find young talent with the right skills. The irony of these hiring frustrations is that there are young adults urgently looking for jobs who appear to be currently unemployable. Chief executives need young adults with better skills, and when they're asked, what are you looking for, they said character. Not excellent test scores and impressive academic degrees. They place significant importance on finding young adults with integrity, empathy, morals, adaptability, curiosity, and a passion to learn, lead, and collaborate. Our expectations, our hopes, are that by adopting the Common Core, we will produce students that will embody all of these traits. Again, what we're doing is we're trying to ensure that they are successful in college, in their career, and as citizens. The five of us went to a seminar a few months ago, and we learned that the Common Core is something more than just a redecorating. It's not just a slap of a different color of paint, different window treatment, perhaps a little bit of a different mirror. It's not simply a redecorating. It's a total renovation. It's a total renovation. We're going to take the current curriculum that we have, we're going to change it up, and we're going to make it amazing.
All right, so
Wait for a second.
okay, there we go. Now it's working. All right, so part of the whole part with Common Core is there's a big technology component. And people often ask, why do we have to change? Why does education change? And I was thinking about it, and I found this old phone. And about the same time these phones were going around, the schoolmaster had a much different job than the teacher of today. And they primarily made sure the students stayed on task, kept the room nice and warm, and the students worked out of a book. Times have changed. This is kind of archaic. Most of us have the same thing in their pockets. In fact, our VCRs, our DVD players, our boom boxes, our photo albums, those are all in our pocket now. And 90% of our students have that in their pocket as well. It's a library of information. And we need to utilize that because there's so much there that they can do. They can go online, they can communicate around the world. It's a great learning tool as well as an entertainment tool, but I mean, as you can see, we've simplified our lives greatly from this to this. You can tell I like Apple over Samsung, but that's okay. If you have a Samsung, we won't hold it against you. And the tools to learn. People can go online and get educations. They can go to Stanford ONLINE. You can take classes for free. They're offering these courses for free. You can get certificates of completion to show that you've done the work. You can use Siri on your phone, and it'll pop up information. I did this right here on Delano Roosevelt. I threw in some calculus problems on it, got the information instantly. Faster than I could have calculated it, faster than I could have gone to an encyclopedia and opened the book up and looked it up. Wikipedia, well, we used to scoff at it 8 years ago because it was so unreliable, is now being, with sources listed, and you can check the validity of it. And so it's more reputable than it was. Scientific American has a lot of great information on it on the science side. The point is, the education, there's a lot of online courses now. In fact, there are a half dozen online high schools which have been accredited by the Central Association of Schools and Colleges. So we're trying to stay in front of that so that this learning experience that your children get is truly a 21st century skills using all the technology as it emerges to incorporate into their education.
Good evening. I'm going to use this one. My name is Kevin Fox. I'm the social studies teacher, a social studies teacher, and the Common Core coach for that department. So teaching practices are going to be changing. And what I want to show you here is a brief clip. It's from a movie you might recognize, some of you, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. But it also represents sort of the old school way of delivering a history lesson.
In 1930, the Republican-controlled House of Representatives, in an effort to alleviate the effects of the, anyone? The Great Depression, passed the, anyone? The tariff bill, the Hawley-Smoot Tariff Act, which, anyone, raised or lowered? Raised tariffs in an effort to collect more revenue for the federal government. Did it work? Anyone? Anyone know the effects? It did not work, and the United States sank deeper into the Great Depression. Today, we have a similar debate over this. Anyone know what this is, class? Anyone? Anyone? Anyone seen this before? The Laffer curve. Anyone know what this says? It says that at this point on the revenue curve, you will get exactly the same amount of revenue as at this point. This is very controversial. Does anyone know what Vice President Bush called this in 1980? Anyone? Something DOO economics. Voodoo economics.
So as you can see, that's the old school way. Maybe some of us experienced that in our educational days, having the talk at whole notion with the sage on the stage there. What I want to show you next is a clip that was taken last week in one of our classrooms, an AP US history course, that's quite different, and then we'll talk about it a little bit afterwards.
I want you to read the article by Dr. Thompson, or no, I'm sorry, Dr. Greenwell. It's just page front and back. You don't need to raise your hand. You don't need to wait to be called on. It's going to be college style, where you're sitting around having a discussion. I want to start with the Civil Rights Movement, and particularly Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, whom you read about last night. Why do we choose to remember these men the way we do? Why do we honor Martin Luther King Jr. with his own holiday? He's the only non-president whose birthday is a national holiday. It's a pretty big honor. Why do we choose to honor him the way we do and forget Malcolm X?
It's just the idea implanted in our minds of Martin Luther King and how we saw him standing up on that podium in Washington, D.C. that day. But it's our method of idealizing the movement, and I think it was just basically their approach to tackling the elephant in the room.
I feel like this sort of racism isn't outward, like blatant racism as it used to be as much, but it might just be something that's internalized. Like since you're young, you see things like you see Black people portrayed as criminals in the media. You see cases in which it's always the African Americans who are antagonized as being the criminals. So you're exposed to it, and sometimes you don't realize that you're internalizing it. We seem to portray Malcolm X as being he was radical, but we really paint him as this violent figure. It's kind of like something to be afraid of, and something that is very, very different from this kind of policy that King had about being forgiving, about integration.
I think there is a disconnect because Malcolm X wasn't like, I don't know, he had a different religion. He believed in Islam, so in the fact sheet that we got, it said that King and Malcolm appear as symbols of these two opposite Black responses towards whites. Malcolm representing an vengeful angel spewing hatred, and King as a saintly figure who would lovingly correct and forgive whites.
Two fairly famous artists, one black, one white, put together a song recently called Accidental Racist. Actually, it's been very controversial. I want to play the song for you, so could someone hit the lights? Just like you, I'm more than what you see. I'm proud of where
slave, I never could. Feel like a newfangled jangle, dodging invisible white hoods. So when I see that white cowboy hat, I'm thinking it's not all good. I guess we're both guilty of judging the cover, not the book.
Well, they want the controversy because obviously it's going to get them hits on YouTube and stuff. So,
You bring up a really good point. It's a song. It's not a speech. Keep going.
they like those one-line lyrics that can be like quoted in news articles so that people will like listen to the song.
But I think the song is questionable because while they're trying to get rid of these stereotypes, they're also employing these stereotypes because the stereotype of a southern white man is that they sing country and a stereotype of a black man is that they rap.
So I feel like the guy who's wearing like the Confederate flag like on the shirt, he's probably one of the very few people who do that. But at the same time, he is perpetuating the stereotype of like white people in the South being racist. And once we see that one person, we'll start thinking about everyone else.
I'd like to say we're very accepting of people, and I think they would recognize that we've come a long way since the days of slavery and since the days of segregation. But I think they would still recognize that there's also a long way to go.
I think those videos speak for themselves. You can see the old way and the future. And what we're working toward is helping all of our teachers develop the capacity to step away from the center of the room and to become more of a guide, an assist to the students. We're in a much more student-centered classroom. You notice the students are having to express their opinions, to make arguments with sound reasoning and evidence, and they use primary source texts, speeches, Martin Luther King, as well as non-traditional texts like song lyrics to engage students and to have them evaluate their culture and the life around them as opposed to just memorizing static facts and old names and dates. And it's much more invigorating for the kids. It's tougher for the teachers because we have to get out of the way. But that's what classrooms here at Arcadia are already looking like in a lot of ways, but we're going to do much more of that. Students are going to be expected to step up and take a larger and more important role in their own education. So we're really excited about those opportunities for our young folks and the skills that they're going to develop as a result of going through those experiences.
Yes, I am next. You forgot that slide.
Oh, I'm still next.
You're still next.
I'm still next. Okay. So as you can see, we're going to change the focus. Classrooms are going to be interactive as opposed to passive as we saw. There's going to be multiple perspectives where students are going to have to grapple with differences of opinions and divergent ideas and to come up with some ideas of their own. We're hope to move into a much more real-life application, even in classes like history, where we can take the past and make it relevant to their lives today. And as pointed out earlier, the technology that our young people have access to and the information that brings opens up a tremendous challenge. It's like which information that they get is real, is valid. And so we're going to have to teach them how to discern truth and verifiable information. And so they're going to assess that validity of sources. And that's a tough skill that we're going to begin to help them develop that is going to be very valuable for them as they move forward.
I'm Leslie Klipstein. I teach English, 9th grade English. I teach 10th grade AVID. I'm the National Honor Society advisor and also a Common Core coach here at the high school. I'm also a parent of 2 high school students. The biggest change that's going to happen because of Common Core is the change in literacy. Literacy is going to be taught in all content areas, in class every day. So literacy has always been part of the curriculum, but it has traditionally been the focus in English classes and history classes. That's no longer the case with Common Core. Close reading of text, writing to explain your thinking, citing evidence to support your ideas, these now will happen in every content area in every class. Math class, computer tech classes, art classes, PE, music, digital photography, you name it. If you take it here at Arcadia High School, you will practice literacy skills in that classroom. The reason for these shifts are several. Literacy in English is markedly different from literacy in other content areas. Historians and English majors and chefs and art critics and sportscasters and scientists all write in different ways for different audiences, and they all read for different kinds of information and different kinds of insights. We want all of our students to be ready for as many opportunities in life as possible, and literacy is the key to communicating no matter what your future holds. Finally, literacy changes. With a broader exposure to reading and writing, students will be able to adapt to new models of literacy. So I have a small example here of one of the ways in which literacy changes. How many of you can read the passage on your left? Anyone? Anyone? Okay. How about the yellow one? I see some nods, a little more accessible, and a fellow English major out in the audience, perhaps. And the other two? Okay. So these are all English. The first one is from Beowulf. The yellow is Chaucer. Underneath Chaucer is Shakespeare. And then on the far right is an emblematic poem from the Victorian age, which might look a lot like the text language that our children are developing these days. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? The point is that language not only changes across disciplines, but it changes within disciplines across time. And to be literate means to be able to change with the times. What this does not mean, however, is that every single teacher will become an English teacher. Those are only the really special ones. No, seriously. Literacy primarily refers to words, whether written or spoken, but literacy really is anything used to communicate content. Musical notation, sports plays, the literacy of movement, art, advertising, all of these are literacies that need to be expressed in their organic forms, but, and this is the Common Core part, explained and communicated in words as well. And who better to teach students how to explain the message of the movements of dance than a dancer, a dance teacher? Who can help students best understand and explain the symbolism of art better than an artist or an art teacher? There are also specific career skills that all students need that require literacy. Writing a recipe, applying for a grant or college, pitching that idea for a new show or an advertisement, presenting your scientific findings at a conference. I could go on, but you get the point. Literacy belongs in every class because everything we do and everything we can imagine doing requires the ability to communicate effectively. And that's the heart of Common Core.
Okay. Change is definitely happening here at Arcadia High School, albeit slowly. It's definitely happening. Some of the work we are doing, we're developing lesson plans so that they are more aligned with the Common Core. The 5 of us are working hard to figure out what in our own departments we can help with change, as well as interdepartmentally. And we're trying to get teachers off the stage, and we're getting students to take more action. And the more students are up in front of the class, the more learning that's taking place. That's one of our goals. We're adjusting the content. We're making it more rigorous, making our expectations are higher. We're also using the delete button, and that's been a real challenge for us. I've been teaching her for 15 years, and the last thing I want to do is start cutting out some of the novels I've been teaching, and that's what the Common Core is asking us to do. They're asking us to take less and go deeper, and that's been a real challenge for us, but we've got to make it work. We're teaching differently. Again, we're asking students to do more of the work, the creating of the questions, leading student class discussions, determining math problems and the way that they're going. We are asking them to do more of that work. We are trying to take a backseat and be more of a facilitator. We're also grading differently. I know in my own classroom, I've created 5 different categories that are all Common Core aligned, and I'm hoping that other teachers on this campus will do the same. We also need to get into their classrooms and help them understand that. So we're working within and across departments and subjects to help everybody sort of get on board. And the purpose is that change is exciting and it leads to amazing results. This space, was a grassy lot a few years ago, and we have so much to celebrate, and we have this cutting-edge technology. We also want to keep our students in the 21st century and stay at that cutting edge.
Thanks. Hi, I'm Jorge Munoz, AP Environmental Science teacher here, and I'm just going to go over the testing component of it. First, we've been using the CST since the late 1990s, and it's a pretty static test, and I'll tell you more about that in a few minutes. And it's how we changed our curriculum. When this test came out, we started teaching so that our students would be very successful on this test, and we've done a good job of that. But it's over, and we have a new testing method. It's through the Smarter Balance Assessment Consortium, and the Smarter Balance test, we call it, is what we're using to assess Common Core style teaching. And the test, there's some interesting pilot tests you can take, and it's much more interactive, and I'll show you that in a few minutes as well. So there's intellectual differences in the test. The CST, it rewards memorization. You know, memorize a bunch of facts and you'll do well on the CST. You memorize all the what, the where, the when, and you're going to do fine. And the Smarter Balance test is different. It rewards higher order thinking skills. The questions aren't all what, where, when. They're more why, how, prove it, explain it. It's asking you to, or asking your students rather, to really think about the problem, and it makes them go through the process of solving it, and it's on a computer, which makes it more difficult. There's differences of the test. The CST that we've been using since the late 1990s is a paper and pencil test. You know, the kids sit there at a desk and they bubble in a bunch of questions. But unfortunately, there's no job in the world where you're going to go and sit there for 8 hours a day bubbling in paper and get paid for that. And it's really static. Everybody gets the same questions. Whether you're answering all of them wrong or all of them right, you get the exact same questions as everybody else. The Smarter Balance test is a little more, it's a little clever. It's a computer-based test, so there's keyboarding skills. You got to be able to use the mouse. You got to drag and drop things. And it's an adaptive test. Probably the most clever thing about the test is that as you answer questions right, the test gets harder. And as you answer questions wrong, it scrambles them and gives you easier and easier questions so that it finds your grade level and it starts, you know, it keeps you there, which is great for us. We are excited about it, or many of us. I'm personally excited about the test because it rewards more creative teaching, and it rewards the kinds of things that students need to do in real life. So who takes it in the results? The CST is taken by 9th, 10th, and 11th grade students for about 6 hours every year. We lose them out of class for about a week a year at each one of those grades, and we get the results next year. It's too late to really do anything about it with those kids. The Smarter Balance test tests only 11th grade students right now, and it's a longer test initially, and we get the results quicker. So there's time to do something for the next school year, and so I'm very excited about that possibility. Thank you for coming. I'm not done. Well, I'm done, but other people are coming.
I'm not done. Testing is important, and to go through the next section, I have my lovely assistant here, Mr. Ray Minster, who teaches all kinds of mathematical things. No, not yet. Okay, so while the Smarter Balance Assessment and the CST and all of that is critically important to all of us, what's the big test you're all concerned about? What? The SAT. Yes? Right? This is the college entrance exam. The College Board is responsible for the SAT and also for AP testing and many other college connections, including some financial aid connections. And the president of the College Board is David Coleman, and he was one of the main authors and architects of the Common Core as well. And College Board has begun to align all of these high-stakes tests with the Common Core. And what's exciting about this is that it allows for consistency it allows for accuracy, and it allows for a direct connection to classrooms and what we do every day, rather than the current model, which offers an additional curriculum. You have to learn what you learn in school, and you have to learn what's on the SAT. Now, from now on, those will be deeply, deeply connected. This change will primarily impact current freshmen and younger. Okay, current freshmen and younger, and may affect some current sophomores who elect to take the SAT multiple times. So the new SAT will be given in the spring of 2016. Okay? So the content of the SAT is changing. There are 8 major areas where the content is changing. The first one is relevant words in context. So the SAT will no longer be a long list of vocabulary words that you need to memorize. Words that you've never heard before, will never use again. Instead, the new SAT will focus on words that people use consistently in college and beyond through a wide range of academic areas. Words like synthesize. Sounds simple, but synthesize in English is very different from synthesis in science, which is very different from synthetic materials in our lives. So words like that have multiple uses across a wide range of areas. The second area that's going to change is a command of evidence. You've heard some of the other Common Core coaches talk about this, but students on the SAT will be asked to support their answers with evidence. Okay, there will be no more choosing C without being able to explain in writing why C is correct based on solid evidence from the texts that are given. The third is an essay, analyzing a source. So the essay will require students to analyze multiple pieces of evidence from a wide variety of subject areas, not just English, but science and history as well, and explain how an author builds an argument. The essays will be scored based on strength of analysis and the coherence of the writing, but the interesting part about the essay is that with the new SAT, the essay will be optional. It will be optional for students, but it will also be optional for colleges. So some colleges may require it and some won't. Some students will take it and some won't. The third major area is math. Math will focus on 3 primary areas now. Problem solving and data analysis is the first. The heart of algebra is the second. And passport to advanced math is the third. So students can study these 3 core areas in mathematics in depth and have confidence that they will be assessed and be successful. The 5th area of change is that the passages will be grounded in real-world problems. Students will be able to need to be able to identify and correct inconsistencies across multiple texts. They will need to show what they have learned in all of their classes, because the reading passages in the SAT will come from science articles, historical documents, and a wide variety of other content area sources. The SAT is being redesigned to test the skills learned in school every day, not tricks of the trade taught by outside companies whose goal is to make a profit. The 6th area of change is source documents. So this kind of goes with number 5, but a lot of the passages in the CST and in the current SAT are literary passages and literary nonfiction. There's a shift towards much more nonfiction from history, social science, and mathematical data. Every exam is going to include passages drawn from the founding documents of America and the great global conversation they inspire. Those are the College Board's words, not mine. But what that means is that every single test will have documents like the Declaration of Independence, the Federalist Papers, letters from a Birmingham jail, other source documents from the founding of our country. And finally, one of the biggest changes, there's no longer a penalty for wrong answers. Students are encouraged to attempt every question, and you will get points for every question you answer correctly, and no points will be deducted for answers that you answer incorrectly. So one of the most exciting things is that College Board has partnered with Khan Academy to offer free test prep to everyone in the world. The College Board will release the full specifications of the exam, extensive sample items of each section on April 16th. So in just about 3 weeks, you will have access to all kinds of information and examples from the actual upcoming SATs. This is 2 full years before implementation. So you've got lots and lots of time to prepare. College Board partnered with Khan Academy to create the best possible test prep material. It's free to everyone, it is online. And the goal behind this is to make the test as transparent as possible and accessible to everyone. The test is now actually going to test what students know and can do, rather than how many tricks and gimmicks they learned outside of the classroom. So these changes are all based on the philosophy that education and testing should be about worthy challenges, not artificial obstacles. We need to create work that is worth doing so that we can get results that matter.
Just a couple comments about AP. As you know, our AP program at the high school is changing. It's a great, vast program, and we're opening it up now for more students to have more opportunities. And so this AP aligning with the Common Core is going to be a slow, gradual process. The AP US History is rolling out in September of next year in the whole new format in both curriculum and testing. The AP testing and curriculum is going to be more aligned to what's actually occurring today in the university survey courses that AP classes are supposed to mimic. They're going to be more thematic and idea and concept oriented. We're shifting away from the checklist of facts to the more concept and idea driven notions, and both the curriculum and the exam will be changing accordingly. For example, as I mentioned, the AP US History course is coming out in the fall, and our teachers have begun to prep and to look into that. We'll be attending some workshops this summer. But AP US History is really shifting to what they're calling historical thinking skills. Instead of memorizing the 4,402 facts of US history, it's about thinking in a historical context. And that's going to include things such as chronological reasoning, comparing and contextualizing, crafting historical arguments with evidence, and interpreting and synthesizing historical narratives. Very different from regurgitation, memorization, cramming into your head. It's going to require a different approach by both the teachers and the students. It's a little more challenging, but we're absolutely sure that it's a better thing for kids, and it's going to give them skills that'll last a lifetime.
Okay, so you may be wondering, why is everybody doing all this? And it's because colleges and corporations, they're asking for a different kind of student from us. It's not good enough for students who've just sat in a chair their whole high school career and learned from a book at home, that they're looking for independent learners, people who can study something on their own, but they're also looking for team players and collaborators. You know, most jobs you have to work with a group of people and have the skills to do that, the soft skills. You have to have people skills in real life. They're also looking for innovators and tech-savvy students, and so we're trying to change education so that we give colleges the type of students that will be very, very successful, and that your students will go out and get awesome jobs and be real happy about the experience they got.
We were just backstage wondering how it is that I got all these slides and why I'm going up again. Anyway, what we want to end with is to let you know again that this is not a redecoration. This is a complete renovation of the education that your children will receive. And as any of you know who have gone through a remodel at your home, remodeling takes planning, it takes time, and it takes a lot of flexibility, because you'll find out new things along the way, and you'll need to change your plans. So I just want you to know that AUSD has been working on Common Core since 2012, and we've planned out about as far as 2016, with room for adjustments and changes after that. Each school also has an implementation plan, and this is ours here at Arcadia High School. You can see that we're at the beginning of the process. You know, we're here in the 2013. We're just beginning. Okay, we've got a ways to go. We look forward to working with you as we remodel education to be sure that you and your students are ready for college, career, and beyond. So thank you all for coming tonight. We do have an AUSD Common Core Facebook page. If you have any questions or comments that you'd like to make, that's a great place to start. And I know that a lot of you have some other places to go, that there are middle school open houses that you may be wanting to get to the last bit for. So if you need to leave now, that's fine. We'll be around for about another 10 minutes or so. So if you have comments and questions that you need clarified, if you could move to the front, and then we'll have a conversation for about the next 10 minutes. And if you need to leave now, thank you for coming and good night.